Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this. I'm getting bad connectivity or something, it looks like, but hopefully you guys can tune in and be able to hear me. But I want to tonight. I kind of want to continue on discussing. I've been into it a lot, mainly because of with the high school football team. But I've been last week. I talked about John Wooden. He was one of this phenomenal coach, known as being the greatest coach ever. And he just had a lot of great leadership qualities about him, and a lot of leadership qualities he instilled upon his players and anyone really who he came in contact with. And it wasn't just about sports. A lot of them helped in real life. A lot of them were beneficial to people in real life. A lot of them were godly, Christian based, and so I think it's just real awesome. And so one of his kind of little teachings is adversity is your asset. So this little nugget of wisdom doesn't seem like it would be beneficial. It doesn't seem like you would even think it possible. How can adversity, how can bad times, how can hard things, how can hardships in my life be an asset to me? How can they benefit me? So I want to give a quick little story here. A guy by the name of Ken Washington, he played on John Wooden's team for UCLA back in the 60s, and at that time the team had gone 2 back-to-back NCAA national championships. And so they were going through it, and they were on course to really get a third in a row championship the following year. But what had happened was there was call it fate, call it whatever. Man, it was just a disastrous year. They had a lot of illnesses. They had a lot of injuries and all sorts of other things kind of coming at them that caused them not to have a great season that year. So they were on track to do it in 1965, but it didn't happen. Because all these things are stacked against them. Adversity came along their way. And so they ended up with like a 10-4 record, and they weren't even eligible to play in the NCAA tournament to even defend their back-to-back title. So, that's what's so hard to believe, but that's what it is. And you gauge, you would think, okay, well, they were unsuccessful. But through all of that, they never heard, Ken Washington here, never heard Coach Wooden complain, never heard anything, never heard him say, give that terrible speech to the players, you need to play harder. Never heard of that, never complained. He just kept telling his players to keep working, to not give up, and to do your best. And so despite all that adversity they faced that year, they had success in their 1966 because of that. So they came out of that in 1965 and had success in 1966 because of that adversity. And so, that welcome to adversity, right? That's what it is. It can make you stronger, it can make you better, it can make you tougher. And everything else in life is going to keep coming at you. And the biggest thing about that, though, is what you do because of that adversity. What is your reaction to that adversity? That really defines whether you come out victorious or not, right? You look at sports, you look at teams, they get faced with hardships and adversity constantly, but how they react to that really claims who the victor is. Despite what the scoreboard says, despite what, the scoreboard in your life says, how you respond to that is really crucial, because it's so easy to in the middle of all that just to quit, right? Looking at sports teams is the easiest way to really look at that. A football team can come out, the first half just be awful. They're faced with all this stuff, bad calls, all these adversities coming at them. Halftime happens where they can come back out and they can just decide, okay, we're done. And their playing is going to reflect that. or they can choose to answer that adversity by pushing through, persevering through, and letting their reaction to that adversity define who they are. So, you don't want to go through it. You allow that test to really see the inner you, to really define you, by not blaming your troubles on bad luck, by not pointing your finger at the weakest link, or blaming things, because all that really just makes us weaker. It makes us weaker, because good things come only through that adversity, right? And to be a good leader, you recognize that, you understand that, because we don't control those unwelcome twists. We don't control all that adversity comes our way. It's out of our control. And it's part of life, and it's part of being this leader for Christ that we are supposed to be in our daily life. We can't control it, but we can choose our response to it. We can control our response to it. And I think that's so crucial. I mean, once again, not to keep badgering this, but it's so evident in this year so far. We have been hit with adversity left and right, and we can't do nothing about it. Not to the degree that is logical and reasonable, but what we can control is our reaction to it, our response to it. And with everything that's going on, we have to see how we respond to it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, this great basketball star, when he played college, back when he was in college playing ball, they made it illegal to dunk, right? And that was really his major offensive weapon, is his dunk, right? I mean, the guy's a giant. Why wouldn't he dunk as much as he can? Well, they made it illegal, and he lost his biggest offensive weapon. And so he actually was kind of mentored and received. He sought out Coach Wooden, got some words of wisdom, and he said, it can make you better, a more complete player. So because he was hit with this adversity, because he was hit with this new rule, and he's losing what he thinks to be his greatest offensive weapon, Coach Wooden is like, well, but now this tough time, it's actually going to make you. It's going to make it better. It could turn you into a more complete player, and as a result of that came his legendary sky hook. If you ever know what that is, look it up. And so, otherwise, if that rule wasn't changed, he would keep dunking. And that's all he would be known for. That's all he's going to be stuck with. But now he got to grow as a player because of that adversity. So see, we got to stop looking at adversity in our life as something that's going to hinder us, is going to stop us, is going to prevent us from doing our passion, doing our skill that we are really good at. Adversity can make us grow and become more of a complete follower for Christ. And, I'm speaking to myself more than anything, because there are things that I feel that I'm confident in doing. There's things that I feel that I have great skill set in, God's blessed me with. But when adversity comes and I am unable to do those things, or it's directing me away from that, I can throw a tantrum, kick and scream, and resist all I want, because, but you're taking me away from what I'm good at. You're taking what I'm good at away from me. But instead, what if it makes me a better, stronger, well-rounded Christian or follower of Christ? My youth group got taken away from me during this whole COVID thing, right? As far as a relational one-on-one type of thing, and how I can relate and talk to people one-on-one, I had to get out of my comfort zone and do things over text or call or video or whatever. And instead of that adversity being something I'm losing so much and just, I'm just going to quit, or I'm just going to stop putting in the effort, I let that, it's taking that adversity and letting it become an asset. What can I do? How can I become a well-rounded, Christian leader, pastor? How can I do those things? And that's what it is. All leaders, are visited. We're visited by misfortune and bad luck. No one's exception to the rule, and we cannot have that theme song of "Woe is me." We can't let it get to that point. Adversity makes us stronger, but only if we resist the temptation to blame fate for our troubles. Blame fate, blame, whatever. I mean, I know that it's so easy right now for me. It has been easy to slack off or do things, and I can blame COVID, or I can blame not enough time, or I can blame I'm too busy, right? We can cast blame on so many things in our life to make excuses for why this adversity is in our life. But really, it makes us grow, makes us stronger. So how often have you not recognized an opportunity because it wore the disguise of bad luck, right? How often have we missed opportunities in our life to become something stronger, to step up to something new, because we blame it as fate, or we blame it as something else, or we blame other people, or whatever. A classic example to go through is Job, right? We know Job's story. We know that he had it all. Satan approached God and said, what about your faithful servant Job? What about him? He's trying to prove to God, he's trying to get man to slip up and to know that if so much adversity is thrown at them, they will crumble, they will reject you, and they're mine. That's what the enemy is trying to do daily, and that's what the enemy was doing. And of course, God said, okay, you try it. Just don't touch him physically, right? So everything was stripped away from him. Adversity after adversity, trouble after trouble, bad luck after bad luck was coming his way. What did he do? Did he quit? Did he roll over and die? Did he give in to that temptation and blame other people? He pushed through as much as he can, and he even had friends coming and saying, why don't you resist God? Why don't you reject him? And he had moments of weaknesses, I'm sure. He had moments of hesitations and things like that. But he held true. He allowed that adversity to strengthen his faith, to become an asset, to make him a better, well-rounded follower of Christ. Of course, we know the ending of that in Job. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the first. He had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels. It rambles on, right? He brought a whole, his family came back. He had a new family, and beautiful daughters. No one in the land could find his beautiful daughters, Job's daughters. And they had all this stuff. And he lived to be 140 years, saw his children and their children to the fourth generation. And so he died old and full of years. So adversity can be your asset if you let it. Troubles in your life, they can be a positive in your life if you let it. It's not easy. I'll be the first to say it does not come easy to do that. But if we're trusting in God, if we're putting our faith in him, and we're trying every day to be intentional about living for him, then when bad stuff comes our way, bad luck happens, man, we're going to try to find God in that. We're going to try to find and seek God even when it looks like it's impossible. And we're going to utilize that to our benefit, to allow us to become stronger, to maybe, I was comfortable here, but now I'm being forced outside of that comfort zone, and here you go. So, it is just amazing to see just what God can do from the adversities in our life, if we let it. So, yeah, man, there's just, Job's so great. They say in the youth pastor forum, Job is the greatest story a youth pastor can share to his students, right? And with that, I try to steer away from it so it's not so cliche and talk about it all the time. But man, it's so good to see Job and see what God can do out of that adversity. So I'll stop rambling, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you keep checking out these devotionals. Make sure you're looking out for Sunday. One of the things I guess you could say could be adversity is I got asked to be in the praise team. And I haven't played guitar in a really long time, let alone on the praise team. So there's me getting out of a comfort zone into something uncomfortable. But see, I'm gonna look for God. God's gonna be in it. God's gonna be there. No matter how bad I play, or how many notes I play, or how many glares I get from Tracy or the rest of the band, I'm going to look for this to be an asset in my life to help me strengthen and become better guitar player, worship for God, or whatever. But that's what we got to do in life. So thank you so much. Let me say a quick prayer, and you guys can enjoy your evening. God, thank you so much for this evening, God. Thank you for allowing us to be just to be your children of God, and just to be your child, to be here on this earth, to serve you, to protect you, or to protect those that we love, God, and to be your hands and feet. And I pray, God, that as we continue on our lives day by day, we're faced with adversity, we're faced with troubles and things that try to trip us up and to tempt us, God. And Lord, I pray that we get a mindset and our heart set to where we can allow those troubles to become something beneficial in our life, to help us grow, to help us become more than what we are to begin with. Because that's what you want for us, Lord. You want the best for us. You want to continue to allow us to grow and to be developed, to be stronger for you, Lord. And that's what we need to be. If we want to be able to face this world and the enemy, God, we need to continue to grow and become stronger in you. So I pray, God, that you just continue to work in our hearts and our minds, Lord, and just speak to us, Lord, and give us the peace and strength we need, God. Thank you so much once again for who you are and what you do. We love you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you Sunday. Take care.